what do you make of the NFL not releasing the rest of the emails from the WFT investigation?
This, of course, the fallout from John Gruden's email, which was, well, not just one, but his emails were some of the 650,000 plus that were a part of the investigation of the Washington football team that at the time the NFL assured us was going to be released only verbally to the interested parties at some point when they came to a conclusion about what the investigation was into, because they wanted to protect the women involved. That, of course, sounded suspicious at the time, and even more so now as we realize that the only people that seem to have been implicated by this investigation thus far are Bruce Allen, who was already fired, and now John Gruden, who seems to be catching shrapnel, deservedly so, and receiving the fate that he more than asked for with those emails. But now the women involved in the Washington football team investigation, the NFLPA, and others are all demanding that the rest of the emails be released because, folks, he wasn't writing himself, right? Who's on the other end of those opinions and words, and how are they responding, and with what opinions and words of their own? I don't think this is going to happen, Spencer, because to me, the NFL intentionally probably offered up some sort of immunity to everyone involved in that investigation in order to find what they needed. And that promise now probably will not be rescinded. So we need some investigative journalists, some intrepid reporters to somehow leak and release these, because I don't think the NFL is going to do it.
Oh, the NFL is not about transparency. If the NFL were about transparency, then they would not have settled with Colin Kaepernick. Because discovery as a process, the legal concept of discovery, where I get to see what you're holding and you get to see what I'm holding, that is not a good look for the NFL. If anyone thinks that this is just, like, oh, this is obviously the exception to the rule. No! No, Jim Trotter was on the NFL Network, the NFL's own network, saying what I am saying right now, which is they're not going to get any of these emails out because it served their purpose to have these released. Anything past this is extremely damaging for the NFL. And above all else, Roger Goodell works for the owners of the league. This ain't happening. They don't want it.
Wait, real quick before Al chimes in, when you say this served their purpose, I was suspicious from the beginning about those who said that the NFL itself was the leak here because of this very reason. When you release this about Gruden, there's no way you believe that people are just going to stop asking questions there and say, well, I'm glad we got rid of him. Everybody else is great. What we know is he receives a paycheck. The people who run the league, who cut the checks, are the ones who have not yet been touched by this, even in moments where they've done things that have been completely inexcusable. I mean, Jerry Richardson's the only owner that we've really seen chased out. And I think there had to have been way more that would have come out if he hadn't stepped away when we knew it was mostly about massages and inappropriate comments, right? So I just wonder, when you say this served their purpose, I know that Goodell probably wanted Gruden out based on the things that he said specifically about him. Maybe the Raiders wanted out from under that albatross of a contract, but who do you think was behind this? This doesn't feel like the NFL would have wanted this.
I feel like the NFL could do whatever it wanted because it is entirely confident that no one is ever going to see those emails. None. You can throw whatever number out there. It could be 1.2 billion emails. You're never going to see it. That's how complete the control is here. There is no report, by the way, coming out about any of this because it is an oral report. The attorney who is commissioned to do this investigation in the first place is never going to put word to paper about any of this. That's astonishing. Has any organization you've ever been a part of said, yeah, we wanted an investigation into this, and by the way, we would like none of it to be written down? That's what the NFL did.
No, that's actually common. That's what the Blazers did about Chauncey Billups. That's what the NWSL did this year. And in terms of a number of investigations, in order to protect the involved parties, we will come to a conclusion. We'll let you know what the conclusion is. We won't let you know anything that got us there. That is the way it works in sports, so that you don't have to actually answer to anything. Elle, what do you think?
I'm sort of gripping and bracing, right? Because it feels like with all of these emails, and obviously they're being cherry picked, what's going to be released, who's next on the list? And just the last few days, right? We've seen our own colleagues targeted. We've seen sort of people just when it's convenient to them, sort of releasing some of these emails. But again, protecting the one entity, the one franchise, the one reason we were here to begin with. I think that's just the most maddening part about this. Did John Gruden deserve to get fired? Of course he deserved to get fired for what he said. It's disgusting lack of leadership. And what he said was deplorable. At the same time, how does he go down? How does the head coach for the Raiders go down for something that the Washington football team was being investigated for, and this idea
that's
that
pretty
like
common,
it needs
though,
to be more,
right?
it needs, sure, it's common, but at the same time, Sarah, the level that it appears of protection here by the NFL. So to answer your question, it doesn't seem like it benefits the NFL to so publicly and defiantly say, no, you're not going to see any of the rest of these emails. It looks like they are protecting one of their own, right? One of their own 31. I can't imagine that they would be behind this.
To the point that Alabaster just put up, the Washington football team was fined $10 million. Now, remember all of the things that we knew factually were true about the interactions with the cheerleaders, the name of the team. It was an endless number of employees who had to sign NDAs on their way out, many of whom were willing to go against that in order to speak to the Washington Post and others. So there was plenty there to be dealt with. And in the end, it was a slap on the wrist, right? Here's the problem. You look at what we asked around the time of those investigations might happen to Dan Snyder, and why other owners wouldn't care enough about how bad he has been for the league since the day he entered, whether that be the effusiveness about the name, the interactions with the cheerleaders, or anything else there. This has been a bad franchise that has been an embarrassment to the league. Why don't they do anything? Why don't they use any of the morality clauses or otherwise? And here's why. They don't want them sniffing around their house. If you go after Dan Snyder for things that you think he's done wrong, then you better have your house in order. And guess what? Probably most of them don't.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.